Hi everyone, and welcome to the beautiful Viking Neptune. We are currently docked in Haifa, Israel as part of our World Cruise travels, and I'm here with my good friend Ron, and we're going to answer some of the most commonly asked questions about what it's like to be on a ship doing a world cruise. First, we'll introduce ourselves. My name is Bruce, and it's my pleasure to be the cruise director on this fantastic voyage.
My name is Ronald, and I am the hotel general manager on board the beautiful Viking Neptune, and I'm leading the hotel department.
And how long have you been working with Viking?
1 year, 1 month.
1 year, 1 month?
Absolutely.
You have me beat by just a month. I celebrated my 1-year anniversary just a couple of weeks ago, and I'm, as they say, a very happy and proud Viking. I'm sure you are as well.
Absolutely.
So, we're on a world cruise. How many world cruises in your experience have you done?
This is my first one.
Oh, your first one. And I have done, this is my 20th world cruise.
Congratulations.
Well, yes. It's an amazing way to see the world and to see places that some people only dream about.
Absolutely. We are absolutely honored and pleasured and be allowed to embark on this beautiful journey.
One of our sayings that we like very much is it's not always the destination, but it's the journey. And so not only do we get a chance to go to fantastic places, but the things that we offer our guests on the way to those places are really important as well. I'm very proud of the fact that Viking takes so much time to curate incredible enrichment speakers, and that part of the World Cruise itinerary and programming I think is super important for our guests.
Absolutely. It's one of the highlights, especially on the sea days. Our guests are entertained from the morning to the evening. We have fantastic guest speakers on board. We always have things to do. Starting, if you like, the bridge is working very well. We have trivia, we have Pago. You can relax if you do not want to join. There's plenty of activities during the day. There are cooking classes, there are baking classes. We started this world cruise to try out an alchemy, to see how you can do body scrubs. That was very popular, and yeah, it's busy all the time. If you wish to be busy, if you want to relax, you can relax, and that's the main thing.
I always like to say that a relaxing sea day doesn't have to be a boring sea day.
Absolutely not.
So there's always something happening, and of course you can't accommodate 500 people in any given venue, and so sometimes our activities and events sort of intersect, and people choose which one they want to go to. We know that our bridge players are going to be very dedicated to bridge. We know that our bago players are going to be very dedicated to bago. So we try to schedule those in at a time where they also get a chance to see our enrichment talks, which are quite important. Along with the enrichment talks, getting to know the guests, I call being on a world cruise free university, because of all the information that you get from the enrichment program. But when you take the time to really get to know your guests, you learn so much about who they are, where they're from, what their careers or their professions were, and I find that every bit as interesting as the places that we go.
No, absolutely. A lot of people which are on board this beautiful vessel have had amazing lives, amazing careers. It's great to learn from them as well. You listen to the guests, of their history, of the stories, and from each and every guest you can pick up something, which I believe makes me a better leader, a better husband, a better human being.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's an excellent point. And I think that that education also extends to our crew as well, because we have over 40 different nationalities represented among the crew. And when you're doing a world cruise, you're with the same guests for a really long period of time, but for the most part, you're with the same crew members for a really long period of time too. And I find that if you have an open mind and an open heart, you can learn just as much from your crew members as you can from your guests. It's like a mini United Nations here on board, and we all live together in peace and harmony.
No, totally agree. You can pick up from any nationality, from any guest, if it's crew or guest, it doesn't really matter. You learn from each and every person. If you're open-minded, it always works. You can see how people act, react, how they enjoy the work, how people enjoy the cruise, and you know where everybody sits. At 4:30 in the morning, you go in the World Cafe, there are two guests sitting on the right-hand side. At 5 o'clock, there are another two guests joining over here. Then downstairs, the living room's getting busy. So you know where everybody is around, and you meet everybody, you have chats with everybody, and yeah, it's an enjoyable cruise.
People mention all the time about the Viking family, and it really is a family, even more so on a cruise that's as long as this cruise is, because you live, work, share meals, share experiences with the same people for 138 days. And so there is that kind of family atmosphere. You get a chance to celebrate birthdays, anniversaries,
Yes.
new grandchildren.
Absolutely.
I think we've even had a couple of renewal of vows.
Yes, we did. We had one, for example, was for the 50th wedding anniversary, which was an absolute privilege to be allowed to be present. It's amazing to meet the people after 50 years are still in love, and we're very privileged to be part of that.
A world cruise is not necessarily a vacation. Even though some people may be doing this for the very first time, most of our guests have traveled. Most of our guests have traveled with Viking before, and some of our guests have done world cruises before. I find it very interesting that this is more of a lifestyle, really, than a vacation. This is where they choose to spend the winter.
Absolutely. We have 93% of our guests are repeated Viking.
Really? 93? Wow.
93%. And we have people and guests which are actually, I think, the 12th world cruise they ever
Yeah.
did. So people are enjoying it, and that's the main thing. And they learn in any destination, in every place. You can see something new. There are different tours being offered. There are different attractions. And they grow with the company. And they grow the knowledge. The more often they go to these destinations, the more you see. And everybody seems to enjoy it.
And you know what? No matter, you've been traveling for a while, I've been traveling for a while, our guests have been traveling for a while. I think it's fair to say that this world cruise and travel now, post-pandemic, it's a different world.
Absolutely.
It's a completely different world. And it's so nice to see the world opening back up to cruise travel. And everybody's been very friendly and welcoming. They're very happy to see travel come back, especially in places where travel is a main part of the income or the economy of some of these places that we go. When travel stopped, a significant part of their economy stopped as well.
And
So
people start to acknowledge the fact when tourism didn't come to the country, that the country on the end of the day suffered to a certain extent because no foreign currency entered the country. People were out of jobs, like everywhere in the world, and people do appreciate that tourism is returning, and it's the new norm. You need to lose it first to realize what you got.
I agree. That's a good point. I think when you go into these places as well, especially for the guests that have done world cruising before or maybe have visited some of these exciting places before, sometimes there is so much to see you can't possibly see it in a day or 2 days or 3 days. Even if you have a 3-day stop someplace, you can't see everything that there is to see in Mumbai in 3 days. So when you travel again or do another world cruise, you get an opportunity to get off in some of the same ports of call and see completely different things. That, I think, is another reason why people love to come back again, even if it's some of the same destinations. There's so much to see, you can't possibly see it all in a day.
Absolutely. If you look at it this way, Sydney, you can discover new things every time you go in a different street. In Mumbai, may or may not take you years to know this place. So people revisit. There's so many attractions which you cannot fit in such a tight schedule. So every time you revisit, it's kind of coming to a new town. You can discover new things, and that's what people enjoy very much.
I'm glad you mentioned Sydney. You probably get this question all the time. I get the same question. People always want to know, what are your favorite ports to sail into or out of in the world? And I would say I have a top 10 favorite list, but ranked right up there at the top, I would have to say sailing into Sydney is one of the most spectacular sail-ins in the entire world.
It is the most spectacular sailing.
It's unbelievable.
It's the opera house, the bridge. It's absolutely amazing.
When you first turn that corner and go into the bay and just see it all right there in front of you, it's magnificent. And if you're going for the very first time, you see those iconic images of the opera house and the bridge, but you're seeing it live and in person, and you're just getting closer and closer and closer, and it's a stunning vista.
As it was the first time for me, I have to say I didn't even believe that we can get that close to the opera house. It was fantastic.
That's an iconic sail, and I think also iconic has to be any kind of a transit through the Panama Canal, and we've just gone through the Suez Canal, which is quite interesting as well, spending a day in the Suez Canal, which has changed so dramatically over the decades, and so much now to see on either side of the canal. It's a fascinating transit as well.
Oh, it's amazing. Panama Canal, Suez Canal, those are landmarks you have to do. We are lucky that we went through them. Of course, if you cruise the world, you don't have much choice other than to go through these canals, and it's amazing. It's really the whole day, every outside deck is full of guests, everybody's enjoying it. We have special lunches on, starting with mimosas at 6 in the morning, with donut stations and everything, so it is an experience, and we make sure our culinary department does their best to enhance that.
Listen, if I was wearing a hat, I would take my hat off right now to the culinary team on board. I can't imagine how difficult it is to please the palates of 850 guests, the same guests, for 138 days, to come up with menus and special events that keep the majority of our guests happy with the food, and yet they are very happy with the food. And you mentioned some of the special things, the donut station. Yesterday there was a cheese fondue station. The big pizzas, that was very popular. And then some of our pool deck events were very popular, including, and I think this comes from you completely, that whole parade of flowers to open up the Indonesian night. That was just a beautiful display. That was very impressive.
We were lucky to find a fantastic supplier in Bali, and the flowers look absolutely spectacular.
They were spectacular, and the way that you had the pool deck decorated, that whole event was just, it was eye-opening. It was stunning. The guests have said that they'd never seen anything like that before on any ship. And then, if you could possibly top yourself, then you did with the tomahawk steak night.
Yes, that was very successful, tomahawk steak night. I do have to say the entertainment department helped a lot. We had a lot of guest entertainers, our onboard entertainment crew, and there was a fantastic show with the meal, and I think everything together made it just absolutely amazing.
It's so much fun when you've got creative minds all together, and you're given a framework. The framework was, this is going to be a food event, and what's going to be featured is the tomahawk steak, and then you say, go, and then you create something. And it was so much fun to try to figure out different ways to entertain the guests during dinner without disrupting the dinner, but at the same time making it something that they would enjoy, and putting the vocalists up on deck number 8 overlooking the pool deck and singing from up there like they were serenading the guests was really nice. And to have your guest entertainers jump in and say, we definitely want to be a part of this,
Absolutely.
and then stroll through the Explorers and stroll through the World Cafe for those diners as well, kind of extended the entire event just from the front of the ship all the way to the back of the ship. It wasn't just on pool deck. That was so much fun. Then, if that wasn't enough, then you did another big event out on deck too, the Lobster Night. What a beautiful display of food that was.
Yeah, the antipasti, lobster, and then we had the delicious dessert. It was absolutely... The main thing is the guests enjoying it. It is hard work from the crew, from everybody is working together. We set it up together. The management on board is very hands-on, and we're making sure it looks the best way possible. And the guests absolutely enjoy it and love it, and that makes the effort, everything worth it.
It's also one of the nice things about having an itinerary that's this long is you may not have an opportunity to do things on the same scale on a 14-day cruise.
Absolutely not.
You have so few sea days because you're just itinerary jam-packed on those shorter voyages. So on a voyage like this, you get an opportunity to, and some of these events I really feel are tailor-made for the guests. You listen to what the guests are enjoying, what they want more of, what perhaps they're not crazy about, because there's always going to be that element of it as well. And then you can sort of tailor your big events knowing what the guests are going to enjoy. It's the same thing with the entertainment. You learn early on what they like, and you give them more of the same. And you have an ability to create shows that give them more of the same, as well as the excellent entertainers that they send to us.
We always listen to the guests' feedback. If the guests would go into one direction, or a majority of the guests would like to do that, and then of course we set up event towards it. Certain times you need to adjust it. Certain times maybe one event is more focused into one direction, and then the next event goes in the other direction. So we have making sure that there's plenty opportunities for everybody to enjoy every event on board. Sometimes you have vegetarians wouldn't enjoy a particular tomahawk night.
Yeah.
There we make sure we have beautiful cauliflower, char-grilled steaks and things like that. So we're making sure everybody's catered for, and the guests are enjoying it and loving it.
Yeah, the thing that adds on to that as well is in certain parts of the world, we get a chance to bring local entertainment on board the ship for the guests. Sometimes the local entertainment is a greeting that's arranged for us on the pier, or a farewell that's arranged for us on the pier. And sometimes we bring a show on board as the entertainment for that evening that features the folkloric music and dances of a particular country, and those are always very popular.
Absolutely. Destination performances like we had in Bali, for example. We had welcome back party in Australia. We did a pit stop in Petra with dates and baklava and beautiful teas, a lovely setup. Anything we create is well received and appreciated. And even small little things, when we went to the island with the penguins, in the evening our team was outside. We served soup on the bus. It was a bit chilly, so the guests appreciated it very much. And then we had some danishes and so on and so forth, and a bit of soup. Small little things make a difference.
It really does, and I love when we're able to bring a little bit of that culture onto the ship and wrap it around a welcome back, or enjoy your day, or when they come back, extend their enjoyment of a particular port by bringing them into the Star Theater and showing them a little bit more culture up on the stage there as well. And of course, one of my favorite things to do, because it always surprises the guests in the most delightful way, is what we like to call Happy Clappy.
Happy clapping, absolutely.
I think it's a great name because it describes it perfectly, doesn't it?
It does, it does.
You get as many crew members lining the pier side as possible. When you've got 400 guests all coming back from a tour, they have no idea that we're going to be out there, and there's local music, and there is something to drink. There's a snack for them on the pier as they're coming off the buses, and when they walk by, everybody's applauding and singing and dancing and welcoming them back, and you just see their faces just completely light up. because they're not expecting it at all. That doesn't cost anything.
True.
It doesn't cost anything at all, and yet the value of that is, you can't put a price on that.
Not at all.
To put a smile on somebody's face like that. I think that's one of my favorite things to do, is happy clappy.
And that's why we're here. We are here to create fantastic memories for our guests. And that makes worth the effort. Our guests have a smile, and it gives us joy, and it gives the whole crew joy to making sure the guests are smiling. And it gives us pleasure.
We've traveled to so many places so far, and we still have a lot left to go. I think most recently some of the favorite places would probably include Aqaba, Jordan, where they got a chance to go to Petra, which is an amazing sight to see. You went to Petra.
I went to Petra.
Was that your first time?
Well, it was my first time in Petra.
What was your impression? Were you amazed like everybody else is when they go for the first time?
Absolutely. I don't think you can be only amazed once. I believe anytime you go to Petra, you're going to be amazed. I believe I could have taken a chair and sit there for a week and just enjoy the sights. There's so much to see, so much to explore. It was an amazing experience, and I'm glad that I went off the ship.
One of our guests made a very good observation. They said that as well as the ruin sites themselves and how large the site is, it was equally fascinating when you were going through the little narrow passageway just to look at the color of the rock, all the different colors in the rock, from the reds and the yellows and the oranges and the blues and the greens. Just that alone was fascinating before you even get to where it opens up into the Treasury building, which is awe-inspiring, isn't it?
Spectacular.
Yeah.
I imagined myself riding a camel down this narrow passage. You're going to be thirsty. 1,000 years ago, you arrived there. The sight must have been absolutely spectacular.
Yeah, and you're right, no matter how many times you see it, that initial view never loses its impact, ever.
I don't believe so.
I don't think so either. Then we followed that up with a couple of days in Safaga, where everybody went off to the Valley of the Kings and Luxor and the Temple at Karnak. Again, unbelievable. Did you go?
No, I did not.
Unbelievable things to see and do there. They came back very, very happy. And now we're here in a part of the world that is so historically important for a lot of reasons. The architecture, the archaeology, the spiritualism. So no matter what it is that you like to do when you're in a new country, Haifa, Israel, has a little bit of everything. So we're here for 2 days. Everybody's going to go off to the Holy City and Jerusalem and Bethlehem and Nazareth, Tel Aviv, and have this experience as well before we head off to yet other fantastic places like Istanbul.
Yeah, it's amazing. The Grand Bazaar is an experience you have to do. And then we have the Blue Mosque. It's amazing sights. We go to amazing places, and it's a must to see when you visit these countries.
Also good food.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's the reason I'm so skinny.
Yeah, travel will do that to you, won't it?
Yeah, sometimes.
It's hard to believe and kind of sad to say that there's very little time left on this world cruise.
True.
And because it's a family experience, it's sometimes sad to say farewell to your friends, the people that you have shared so much with for 138 days. You've literally shared the world with them, and in many ways they've shared their lives with you, and you've shared a portion of who you are with them as well. And then at some point you have to wish them a fond farewell, and that's always tough.
Oh, it will be tough. As we said before, we met amazing human beings, amazing guests. It's going to be a tough farewell. We shared the lives to a certain extent. We have experiences with the guests, and great memories were created, and you know the people, and they become part of the family, and you know exactly where they are, what time they're around, who you're chatting with, how they are, good parts, sad parts, and it is a family. and it's very sad to say goodbye to family.
And here's another thing as well. This particular group of people, these guests, this crew, will never be assembled together again exactly like this.
No, it will not.
This is a once-in-a-lifetime experience, and it's unique. It can never be replicated, and so you hold on to that because that makes it even more special, knowing that this group of people, every single person on board, this can never be duplicated again. It was a once-in-a-lifetime, truly unique and original experience.
What made this world cruise a great world cruise is of the people which were on board, and that makes the whole difference.
Oh, you're right, it really does. You know ahead of time where you're going to go, and you already know that the places that you're going to see are magnificent. They're not going anywhere. Petra is not going anywhere. Petra is always going to be there. You know, the temple at Karnak is always going to be there. It's getting there and what you experience along the way. That's, I think, what makes a world cruise. The itinerary is important to be sure, but I think more important is what happens here.
True. I was allowed, or I am allowed, to lead an amazing team, to meet fantastic guests. The group itself will be never ever together at the same spot as this world cruise. And to be honest with you, as you said, it's gonna be a bit sad.
It's emotional.
It is emotional, yes.
It's happy and sad at the same time because there's a feeling of satisfaction and pride and pleasure at having been able to meet so many different people, both amongst our guests and amongst our crew, to be able to work with so many different professionals in different paths of life, different careers, but also to know that you've created a once-in-a-lifetime experience for our guests. If somebody was interested in a world cruise and they're vacillating back and forth, oh, should we do it? Should we not do it? What would you say to somebody who might be trying to decide whether or not to do a world cruise? What would you tell them?
Enjoy life while you can. If you can go on a world cruise, do it. Time is passing too fast, and then we do not realize it, and there might be the end. So let's enjoy while we can.
I think that's absolutely great advice. Do it while you can, while you have the opportunity to travel like this. And I mentioned very early on in our chat that this was my 20th world cruise, and yet I have to say that doing it on this ship and doing it with this company makes all the difference in the world. It is unlike any cruise experience I've ever had in a 30-year career on ships. Being with this team, being on this beautiful ship, and doing it this way, doing it the Viking way, is completely different than any experience I've ever had before. And because of that, I'm very grateful. So for me, it was an eye-opening experience to see the world like this. And although I've been to many of these places before, I'm experiencing it for the first time because of being on this ship.
I feel very privileged.
I agree. Well, I think that's about it for us today. Thanks for taking some time to chat with me about world cruising. It's now something that we have in common.
Thank you, sir. Highly appreciate it.
I look forward to the next cruise with you.
Me too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.